Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. So excited today. I've got actress Emily Swallow with me. So, Emily, welcome.
Thank you.
So, we were talking off camera. I just missed you. You were actually in the state up in Morgantown for the convention.
I was.
Yeah, I missed out. That was disappointing.
It was a
How was
great convention. It was their first time doing it, and I hope not the last. I hope that they will make it a regular thing.
I'm sure they will. We're kind of so I'm a ex comic book store owner. So I owned stores like back in the 90s. Well, back in the 90s, we were putting on conventions in West Virginia, but then that kind of it just kind of ended. So it's been probably 15, 20 years since we've really had, those type of conventions. So it's exciting that they're starting to come back.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it, and everyone that I met from the area was lovely. So I'd go back there.
You need to. It's beautiful this time of year.
It is, yes.
So I saw you were out to dinner. You went to dinner with a good friend of ours that's on the show quite a bit, Mark Roberts from the Dead Cards. What did you have for dinner?
What did I have for dinner? Well, both nights we went to dinner at I don't remember what the place was called. Here I could try to give it a plug and I can't even remember, and I ate there twice.
Was it good?
It was good. I'm a horrible promoter. It was it was called Fusion. There you go. It was a
Fusion,
steakhouse, Fusion Steakhouse. So it was one of those places where you can sit at the what's it called? I'm great with my words today.
Not the bar. It's like the community
where they
area.
cook it in front of you.
Yeah, it's kind of like a hibachi type of place.
Hibachi. That's exactly what it's called. So I had some delicious sushi both nights. I watched some amazing steak and lobster being cooked right in front of me. I didn't eat that, but it looked real good.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Was quite happy with their food.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So that's my daughter graduated from WVU up there.
Oh, okay.
And my father is a WVU grad. I'm a Marshall grad, so I'm down at the other end of the state with that. I'm a WVU fan. Marshall grad.
I heard a lot about WVU football while I was there, and I went to college not far away. I went to UVA, so I'm up in there with all of you.
That's right. And you had like a really interesting degree. It was like a Middle Eastern degree.
Yeah, I majored in Middle Eastern studies because I thought I was going to go into the Foreign Service and be a Foreign Service officer.
I mean, that's pretty neat. That's pretty. None of us ever end up doing what our degrees are. I'm sure, though, it's probably helped some with some of the roles you've had.
Well, I'm so glad that I did it because, I mean, you're right. We choose something for our liberal arts degree. I feel like to an extent, unless there is something really specific that you want to do, it doesn't really matter what the specific major is because you're really just learning how to think and how to look at other points of view and how to be curious about the world. And it was interesting for some, I mean, I played an FBI agent who was traveling abroad. I've played some spies, and I do tell people sometimes, I say it could be that I was having fantastic training with that and with my acting training to be a real life spy. And who knows that that's not what I'm actually doing.
Who's to say that that's not true?
Yeah. I feel that way sometimes with how tight-lipped I'm supposed to be about working for Disney.
Yeah.
All the NDAs that I sign. I feel like a spy sometimes. Well,
so as a fan, I want to know everything, but still be surprised. So if you could make that happen.
Good luck with that.
So, all right, I'll go ahead and ask you about the Armorer. So terrific. Absolutely love that. Everybody loved The Mandalorian. It was such a good show. So well done.
Pretty good, didn't it?
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah. You were very intimidating as the Armorer. Like,
why? Thank you.
Yeah,
my husband thought so. After we watched that last episode with that fight scene, and he tells this story all the time that we were sitting there on the couch watching it and that fight scene ended. And then he turned to me and he said, I guess I'll go do the dishes now.
That's a good man. That's a good
Yep.
man. Did you get to take the armor home?
No. So many people have asked me that. There's no way Disney would let me do that. However, I do have a helmet that a fan made me.
Oh.
And my dog has an armorer costume that a fan made.
Now that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. See, if I was on a show like that, where it wouldn't matter what the role was, but just if it was a role that was recognizable, I'd show up everywhere dressed that way forever. They wouldn't even have to call me for conventions. I'd just show up.
Well, a lot of people
he's
told
back
me,
again.
you know, when we first started having to wear masks on planes and everything, that I should just travel in my armorer
Yeah.
helmet, and that could
Why
be my
not?
mask.
Yeah, that would work. So I guess we're assuming that she's still out there, so she could come
She's
back.
definitely not dead, and
Yeah.
I'm okay in saying that only because Jon Favreau told me back when we were shooting season 1 that when he originally wrote that fight scene, he wrote it so that she very clearly did die, that she sacrificed herself, and then he changed his mind and decided not to kill her. So I don't know what happened to her, but I know that he made the decision not to kill her,
She's
and that
coming back.
makes me very happy.
She's come back, and the thing is it may. Who knows if it's even going to be in the Mandalorian? She could come back in all kinds of shows.
You know, there's all these different shows now.
Yeah. She could even come back as an animated character that you could voice.
Yeah. Well, we've come up with all sorts of alternative ideas too. I was at a convention this last weekend with a bunch of other folks who have played various parts on The Mandalorian, and we decided that maybe the Armorer has a dating show on Disney Plus that's called I'd Hit That. She carries her hammer around, and instead of like giving out a rose a la The Bachelor, she if you want to express your appreciation for one of the other contestants, you give them the hammer and you say, I'd hit that.
I'd watch that show.
I mean, why not? You know, I feel like Disney Plus has infinite possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, that one, that could be a little more adult. We might have to move that to Hulu.
Yeah, I don't know if you could really have like a Disney Plus after hours.
No. I'm sure it would have plenty of subscribers, but no, they probably wouldn't do that. Were you in, was it Vegas? Was the show in Vegas?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought I saw something about that. I felt bad for your character because after the fight and everybody, you know, and you've got all the empty armor and stuff. I mean, you know that you had to cremate all of those people that died. That's the only way where else would they go? And then you had to melt down their armor. That was sad.
That is some real, I tried not to think too much about that because that is a sad thing to contemplate.
It is. That was all your comrades, I guess.
But I do feel like she's someone who could handle that, you know?
She's tough.
And she would take the time to honor them that way. That's one of the things I love about her. I think that she really, really prizes those things that are sacred and special. And it's really cool to have a character like that because I know I feel like we're in a society where we don't have a lot of, it's hard to take time. It's hard to slow down. It's hard to stop. And so to get to play a character who takes time for those things certainly helps me in my life. It's a real gift.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's pretty great. Did you have to train for the role? Did you have to do special like physical training?
I did. I tried to educate myself about blacksmithing a bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is one of the great things about YouTube. There are many not so great things about YouTube, but
what did you break at your house swinging the hammer?
Didn't break anything yet. I have a hammer also that a fan made me that I've been traveling with at conventions, and the hammer has broken a few times in my suitcase. And one of my friends said I should just tell people that it broke when I hit a stormtrooper, which is
That's a pretty good story. You
pretty
gotta
good.
have a good story. I need
Um,
fans to make me things.
the coolest thing, I gotta tell you. Yeah. But they brought a blacksmith into the set to work with me, which was a huge relief because, there's a big difference between watching things and trying to absorb it. And then when you actually have to do it and you can't see yourself and you're wearing a big bulky suit of armor and a helmet and you're wearing, John, when he saw the gloves that I was wearing, he said it must feel like you're trying to do all of this in oven mitts because they were huge. They didn't fit me well. They looked great, but they were not practically very good blacksmithing gloves. And so it was sort of clumsy. It was hard to pick things up. So it was a great relief to have somebody there on set sort of guiding me through different motions. Yeah. And then of course we had to do the sort of Hollywoodification of it. So there was what was accurate, and then there was what would look really cool on camera.
Well, that's right.
And then when I got the script that had that fight in it, immediately I went to Ryan, our Emmy Award winning stunt choreographer. And I said to him, I was like, I will train, I will work my butt off, whatever I have to do. I want to do this fight. And he kind of patted me on the shoulder and he said, that's very sweet. He said, how much martial arts training do you have? And I said, currently 0, but I'll work really hard. And he said, there's just no way you could learn. And we had 3 weeks. He was like, you can't learn in 3 weeks what you would need to learn for what we want to do, but you're welcome to train and see, what you can pick up for some transitions. And I did work with somebody. It was based in a martial art called Kali. And it was really fun to get to do that. I love getting to learn new things for characters. And it was just fun to sort of get a feel for how this character fights.
Yeah.
Because she is somebody who doesn't fight often, even though she's a part of this warrior clan. She saves it for when she really needs it. But then I saw the actual fight and I saw how amazing Lauren Kim is, the woman who was my stunt double. And I said, oh, okay, I get it. I understand. I would have worked so hard and you would have seen that I was trying real hard, but it wouldn't have looked nearly.
If you had 4 or 5 weeks, but 3 weeks, there's just.
Yeah. Now she's been training that way for years. So she definitely had a leg up.
Didn't it make you feel a little more confident in the armor though? Just a little bit of training that you did?
Yeah, it absolutely did.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. So next time when they spin the armor off, you'll be ready. You'll be like, I got it. I've been working this whole time. I'm ready now.
Put me in, coach.
Put me in. That's pretty great. So did they let you take the script home?
Do you mean before, after?
Yeah, well, before you were on set, did you get to read the whole script, or was it just your part? I know sometimes you even have to go in.
So secretive. So you have to log into a very secure online portal that keeps note of every time you log in, and you're technically not supposed to print anything out from it, which is a really interesting conundrum as an actor, because, I like to print out my pages and make notes on them and try to memorize them. So I had to work with that. I won't say anything more about that. They did send me full scripts for, I want to say, maybe just the last step. They didn't send me the full script for all the episodes. They did for 1 or 2 of them, but I didn't get to read the scripts for the episodes that I wasn't in, which was kind of great. I know now that it wouldn't really have mattered because there wasn't much going on in some of the episodes that would have informed what I was doing, because some of them were so standalone. And it was really fun because it meant I truly got to experience some of it as a fan,
That's pretty cool.
I got to just go along for the ride like everybody else did. So as I've gotten to know them, as I got to know them a little bit better as we were working on the season, I, would ask them questions that about information that could be helpful, that might inform some of the choices I was making. And they do, they're not going to hang you out to dry. They try to help you try
Well,
to give
yeah.
you information that will help you with your character, but they don't want to, they want to keep the surprises surprises. So they try not to let too much information get out.
So were you surprised with the Luke appearance?
Oh my gosh, yes. Because I wasn't at all involved in season 2.
Yeah.
So I had no idea what was going to happen. And it just, I mean, I think I might have shouted at the TV. It was.
Didn't you knew though, as soon as you saw the X-Wing, you knew it had to be him.
It was one of those like, how is this actually happening? This can't be happening. Because I didn't know, I hadn't talked to anyone about it. I didn't know that it was going to happen. So I didn't know that it could happen. And
it's pretty great.
Yeah.
Were you, so I know you were kind of young when the original Star Wars were coming out, but
yeah,
were you a fan of Star Wars growing up? You would have been a teenager during the prequels.
Yeah, I have an older brother who's 7, who was 7 years older than me, is 7 years older than me. Excuse me. And so he was a huge fan of them. And so, of course, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be just like him. And the second one was the first one that I remember seeing. Because I was not born yet when the first one came out. And I fell in love with it. I mean, I played Ewok Adventures in my backyard, and I wanted to be Princess Leia, of course.
Of course.
And tried to figure out the hair, but back then there was no YouTube, so there were no YouTube tutorials about how to do the hair. It was just always a part of my childhood. Like there wasn't ever a time in life when there wasn't Star Wars. So it was just part of life. I wasn't a super fan of it. Like I didn't know until I got involved with the Mandalorian about like all the novels, and I didn't know about the animated series really. So I have gained knowledge in my education since
there's a lot out there.
There is.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So I jumped way ahead. So when you went to college, and at some point you said, okay, I'm going to get into entertainment. What made you do that? What made you decide to switch to entertaining instead of working on what you originally had planned to?
Well, I always loved music and acting. My parents both were wonderful musicians, just amateur musicians.
Yeah.
And we would go play like tours of things when they came through town. And I performed when I was in school, and I always loved it. I think it was just that there were so many things I loved, and there was nobody really in my immediate world that had gone on to be an actor. So it didn't really seem like anything, that you could do. And when I was in college at UVA, I was very fortunate because the drama department there is inclusive, whether or not you're a drama major. Yeah. And I just had some wonderful, wonderful teachers and directors there. I took acting classes. I did a play basically every semester. And one of my acting teachers, a guy named Richard Warner, he said towards I guess it would have had to be like the end of my junior year or maybe the beginning of my senior year. He saw how much I loved it. And he said, have you thought about doing this? Do you want to think about auditioning for some grad acting programs? And I said, yeah, I guess I do. So you have to work on a bunch of monologues to do that. So at one point I had, I think 12 different monologues that I could do at the drop of a hat, like Shakespeare, contemporary. I had musical theater songs. I had like something from every genre. And I went up to New York for a few weekends and auditioned for a bunch of different programs. And I got into NYU and knew enough to know that it was a really good program and I should maybe take advantage of the opportunity. It was sort of a good strategy too, because I went from, I think a lot of parents, upon learning that their kid wants to move to New York to be an actor, would be a little nervous. But I went from saying like, because I had interned at the State Department And so, I
Oh,
was ready to like go to the Middle East and work in an embassy. So I went from that to saying instead, I'm going to go to New York and be an actor. So they were like, oh, that's fine. That's nothing. So I went up to New York and actually started school in September of 2001, which was a really interesting
ooh,
time to
yeah.
move to the city, and a
Wow.
beautiful time to move to the city because of the outpouring of love that happened in the wake of that tragedy. It was an incredible thing to witness, and something that really made my class bond in a
Yeah.
very special way. Um,
So
and
you were there on the 11th?
Yes, yeah, we had just gotten the class down at NYU, which is on 8th Street. Um, and a bunch of us like went up to the roof like idiots and saw a bunch of what was going on. And yeah, it was I mean, it was a transformative time.
Yeah, for sure.
And it definitely cemented for me the sacredness of storytelling, and
Yeah.
somehow healing storytelling can be. And I'm very grateful for that, and grateful to have had that community around me, as I was experiencing what the world was going through, really,
Right.
what the city was going through, and being able to see how we could use art as a way to speak to that. I think
Yeah.
it bonded our class in a really special way.
There's no way it couldn't have. I mean, I can't imagine being a college student at that time and getting to witness, the tragedy, but then kind of the recovery.
Hmm.
That's amazing. That it would have to have an impact on
Yeah.
you. Yeah. So you have a crazy singing voice. I've heard you sing here and there. So have you ever considered that? Have you ever considered doing something musical or releasing an album or a song? Or,
I have. I did. I used to do musicals. I did a Broadway musical.
oh, there you
My
go.
one and
Well,
only Broadway
you've
experience.
definitely got the voice for it. I mean, you
Oh,
got
well,
amazing
thank
voice.
you.
Yeah.
And I am trying to work on an album. Um, it turns out I'm not great at like structuring things for myself. So I am now, and partly because of the COVIDness of things over the
Yeah.
last year. And my husband and I have relocated to LA from New York, and work has been all over the place, and I've been traveling so much for conventions the past few months. And so I am now trying to like sit down with a friend of mine who has produced some albums and who can help me actually map out like how to do this
Yeah,
in a
you need to
practical
do
way.
that.
Yeah.
You need to
I
do
do.
that. And then once you have a song release, then you can come back on and sing.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
All right.
That would be awesome. We could use a theme song. I'm just throwing that out there.
What kind of genre do you want for your theme song?
We're not very picky, so dealer's choice. I can't give you much to work with. So
All right.
your vision. No,
I'm
that's
not sure if
I
that's an
just
endorsement or not. You're like, you could come and you could sing for us.
oh
We're
yeah.
not very picky.
No. Oh yeah, that did sound bad. That was terrible. That was terrible. We're not very picky about the genre.
Got it.
Obviously, we only take elite talent. That's
Yeah.
we just being elite talent ourselves. That's all we work with. We'll settle for nothing less.
All right. All right.
Or something.
Sold.
You really do have a terrific voice. That's exciting. I
You.
hope you're able to do that. Do you play an instrument?
I play the piano.
Oh, nice.
And I own my best friend. I've wanted to learn the banjo for years, and my best friend gave me one a few years ago.
A
And
hard
I have,
instrument to play.
I'm going to come back to YouTube yet again because I have watched some YouTube tutorials, And they're real entertaining because I feel like there's just some like old dudes who live in the mountains in the middle of the country who have some friends who were like, hey, you should get there on YouTube and you should teach some people. And I watch them and it's so much fun, but I think it's an instrument where you need to like sit down with somebody and
it's a hard instrument.
Yeah.
Like more difficult than a guitar.
It's incredible though.
My wife's grandmother played banjo. And so she inherited her banjo. She's pretty musical, but she couldn't play the banjo. It's too hard on her fingers. But my stepson, he can pick up any instrument and play. So he fooled with it for like an hour and he was playing it. It was unbelievable.
That's incredible.
I know. I don't, people that can do that, and there's a lot of musicians that can do that. It just amazes me.
Yeah.
Because it's just so foreign to me. I mean, I had piano lessons growing up. I couldn't play a lick. It did me no good at all. And then you have people that can just pick up any instrument, give them 10 minutes, they're reading the music playing, or they're playing by ear, which is even more amazing.
Well, yeah, I learned to read music and I can sit down and you put music in front of me and I can read it and play it. But my grandmother could not read music at all, but you play something and she could sit down for hours and just riff on it. And that was incredible to me. And I wish I could do that more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I don't know. There's some talented people out there.
Yep.
But if you learn the banjo, you can play it here.
Hey.
We should have a banjo in our theme song, I think.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill two birds with one stone.
That's right. That's it. There's your challenge.
The gauntlet has been thrown.
Oh, shoot. So you've done a lot of geeky stuff. That's why we were so excited to talk to you. Everybody says, oh, it's the armor from the Mandalorian. But don't you think your most famous role was probably the mermaid in Flight of the Conchords?
I get so excited when people tell me they've seen that. Because that, and I shot that. We shot my episode for that before the show actually had ever been on TV. So I had seen Brett and Jermaine's, musical comedy act, and I knew they were hilarious. But on paper, I'm reading the script and I'm like, I think this is really funny.
Yeah, it was.
But we hadn't seen anything yet. And so it was a riot to work on it. And I remember we were shooting in Brooklyn at this pool and they needed synchronized swimmers, but I guess that they hadn't actually put out a casting call for synchronized swimmers. They just had asked for swimmers, and then the swimmers showed up and they tried to get them to do some synchronized sequence. And guess what? It's not that easy. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And then Betsy, the other mermaid, and I were lying there by the pool and we couldn't move. People had to pick us up and carry us places because of those tails, which is a very strange feeling. It was a little panic inducing. I was surprised by that.
Claustrophobic a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it looked so cool. And the episode turned out so well. And they were just so much fun to work with. They're great guys. They're hilarious. They're just so warm, and everyone, the whole cast and crew was just so much fun. And it was just so so collaborative. And I remember, we did a table read at somebody's apartment, and it was just all it felt so, it just felt like everyone was really willing to get in there and get dirty and make it happen. And I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty great. We were always disappointed that they didn't do more of those because it was such a hilarious show. Just unique, I think. Just different.
Yeah.
With that. But yeah, that's the first thing that I remember seeing you in. I'm sure there's been plenty, but that's the one that, it's hard not to stick out.
Well, before that, that means you didn't see my 3-episode arc on Guiding Light.
You know what? Now, let me tell you, I was going to bring this up, but before I have anybody on the show, I go around to everybody in the family. I'm like, what have you seen them in?
Uh-huh.
Right. So that's the show. So I always ask my mother because she always has a little different perspective.
Okay.
She couldn't name the guiding light, but she said, I'm pretty sure she's been on soap opera.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was my
And I was
first
like, yeah,
TV gig.
yeah. You were just a baby then.
Yeah. And I remember my character, I was in a flashback, and my character was very highly anticipated because there was this couple on the show that I guess had broken up years before because he'd had an affair. The couple's name was Harley and Mallet.
Oh,
And they
there's
it was
no way
very
that couple's
contentious.
going to work. There's no way. Tell by the names, it's just not going to work. That's going to end badly.
And Mallet, the guy, had cheated on Harley. He was a cop, and he cheated on Harley with his partner years before, but they had never showed who his partner was. And I was his partner, and I appeared in this flashback, and we were on stakeout together. We were undercover. And of course, because I was a lady cop undercover, what else could I be but a prostitute? Because that's the only thing you can be.
That's the only thing they do undercover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was putting the moves on him, and he was trying to rebuff me. And we were in this like big old truck, and I had to lean across, like, they had bucket seats, and there was this like gaping chasm between us. And I had to like lean way across to try to get to him. And then Harley opens the door, and the actress playing Harley, who was lovely, was like a full foot shorter than me. And she had to yank me out of the truck and like slam me up against it. And she said, I came because I just knew. It was just something like that. And then I like scampered off. So that was it for that episode.
Now.
Sorry?
I kind of want to watch that now.
Oh, it gets better, because then I came back in the present day, which was 10 years later, because there was a guy that Mallet and I had put in jail, and I was worried that he might be stalking me. So I come to Mallet, and I'm like, I think this guy is following me. I feel like I might need a bodyguard. And basically I was intimating that I wanted him to protect me. And he said, and he had to say something like, are you asking me are you wanting my protective services? Are you wanting me to be a bodyguard for you? And I had to say what is, to this day, I think the most difficult line I've ever had to deliver with a straight face, which was, you can guard my body anytime, Mallet. And that is still like one of the
That's just good writing
of my acting career, that I was able to do that without cracking.
Although now that I've mulled this Mallet name over, I would watch that show. Like if they had a Detective Mallet, I'd watch that show.
Well, I don't know where you watch Guiding Light these days.
Was his no?
What do you do with all the soaps that are over now? Like, can you go see them on Netflix or something? I don't know.
There's got to be an app for it somewhere, right?
Soap Opera Channel, right?
There is. I bet they're on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was Mallet's last name?
That was his last name.
Oh, that Mallet was the last name.
AC Mallet.
Oh, AC. Oh my gosh. Detective AC Mallet. I'm in. I'd watch that show.
There you go.
I don't know about the dialogue, but they got the name right.
That's all you need.
Yeah. So, okay. So a couple other things I know we got to wrap up for too long, but a couple other things. So you played the Darkness on Supernatural.
I did.
Awesome. That was, yeah.
She was fun.
Now, she had to be fun. That was a little later in the show, so it was like 10th
I didn't show up until
season.
season 11.
Yeah.
11,
yeah.
Yeah, I tell people who have never watched the show before, because it's a big undertaking. It's sort of funny.
It's like 20 years.
Yeah. And, I meet people who have never seen The Mandalorian, and it's just 2 seasons of 8 episodes each. Yeah. And I'm like, come on, you can watch it. Supernatural, I'm like, I think it's a good show. I'm not going to tell you that you have to watch it, because that's like a huge chunk of your life if you try to catch up now. But I do sometimes tell people, well, you could just start where I come in and skip the first 10 seasons, and then it's not quite as daunting.
You were probably my wife and I's favorite character on
Why, thank
there.
you.
Yeah, we loved that character. It was I don't know, there were some religious undertones. It's very just a cool
She's
character.
really interesting. And I love how I do really appreciate that the show created its own sort of mythology and borrowed different characters from different
Yeah,
religious
kind of neat.
backgrounds and stuff and kind of just did its own thing.
I think if you watched an episode a day, you could be done in a year.
Well, see, that would be sensible. I meet people who binge it in a matter of like 3 weeks.
Yeah, but what at what cost? I mean, they have to look pretty rough.
I'm not going to say that to them. You can say that. I just
Well, it's
say,
easy to
wow,
say.
good for you.
From here, it's easy to say.
Yeah.
Keep that to myself in person.
But I meet these people at conventions and I just say, good for you. Congrats.
I know, and as a fan, I'm very aware that we're a lot. We can be pretty great, but we're a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a lot. But they also make you stuff.
Oh, the pretty great is the dominant part of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. You always get a few that maybe are a little too much. But for the majority, because I love conventions.
Misunderstandings.
It's so like back when I was doing them in the 80s and 90s, it was it was just the writers and the artists from the comic books. It was predominantly male. Wasn't a lot going on. They were still fun, but wasn't a lot going on. But now it's so inclusive. I mean, with cosplay and all the different shows and the actors, and it's just everybody's involved. I think it's such a great
and there's
environment.
just whole communities. I mean, I think it's really beautiful too, like how I first experienced this with the supernatural fandom, how a lot of the fans create these little communities within the fandom and then wind up doing this beautiful charity work. And for a lot of them, the conventions are kind of like summer camp. Like they only see each other at the conventions and they have friends that they meet up with. And
yeah, it's like a vacation.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat.
I
used to, when I had the comic book stores, the best day of the week was Wednesday because that was new comic day.
Oh.
But you would get the comics in, but before you could sell them, you had to sort everything.
Uh-huh.
Well, the store would be just packed, people waiting to buy their comic books. But nobody ever complained about, sometimes it'd take a couple hours to get everything sorted.
Yeah.
No complaints because everybody just loved hanging out and getting to talk about all the nerdy stuff that they love with other people.
That energy, I mean, and I have just felt that tenfold lately because of how much time we all had to take off from the conventions. And now everyone is so happy to be back together and so grateful. And I am so grateful that, that so many people want to come to these conventions to hang out with me. It's a tremendous blessing.
Pretty good. Are you starting to get people coming up to you about Castlevania?
I do, yeah. Well, a lot of people, they come to my table because of Mandalorian or Supernatural, and then they start looking at all the pictures and they see Castlevania and they go, wait a minute, you heard? And they're very surprised. And that's satisfying.
Are you Dracula's wife reincarnated?
Am I? You mean?
Your character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I am his wife, and then I get burned at the stake.
Yep.
And then spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's on them if they haven't watched yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the ending that they gave the two of them, though.
It's pretty great. I have to give my stepdaughter some props because she's the one that got me watching Castlevania. Because I watched the first episode when it came out, and I was like, that was pretty good, but then I just set it aside. And she watched the whole series, and she was like, you gotta go back and watch that.
Oh, well, thank her on my behalf.
She was such a fan of your character on there. Just absolutely love that. Because when I put out that you were coming on the show, that's the one she knew you from. She didn't watch The Mandalorian, but she's an anime fan.
Uh-huh.
And she's a gaming fan. So yeah, she's like, oh, I know her. It's pretty great. That's pretty great. Are you planning to do any other animation, any type of voiceovers?
I would if I got something.
Yeah.
It's people very often are like, why'd you decide to do this? Why'd you decide to do that? And I say, well, I auditioned and they cast me. That's usually how it works out. It's not like, well, I would like to be a part of Star Wars. I think I will do that. I would love to do more animation, and I have auditioned for many, many, many things since I did Castlevania, and nothing has worked out yet.
Well, you had a part in The Last of Us Part 2.
Yes. Well, that wasn't just voiceover. That was full motion capture.
You had to do the motion capture.
Yeah.
What was the name of the character?
They wound up naming her Emily. She didn't have a name.
That's
before we
right.
shot
I
it,
should.
and
Yeah, I
just
should.
named her Emily.
So I'm talking to you, and your name's Emily. My wife's name's Emily, and I couldn't come up with the name of Emily. So that's terrible podcasting. That's terrible. My son does podcasts with me. Big fan of The Last of Us. Big fan of The Last of Us. So I haven't played it, but he absolutely is one of his favorite games.
I haven't either, because I don't.
Really?
They sent me a copy of the game, but I don't have a PlayStation, so I haven't gotten to play it. And I know that you can watch other people play through the game, but I want to play it myself.
All right. When you come here to release, our theme song,
With my
we'll get the
banjo.
PlayStation out.
All right, man. Oh man.
Yeah. Pressure's on.
Yeah.
Pressure's
Stakes are high.
We cannot fail. But hey, that's how we can repay you. We'll let you play on the PlayStation.
All right.
We're filling the studio with the old 90s arcade games.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah, because I can't play any of these new things, but if you want to get out an Atari or one of the stand-up, arcade games, I can play those a little bit.
Well, I like to impress. It doesn't impress anybody. I like to complain to the kids these days.
That's right.
About, like, one of the first games I remember playing on Atari was this. It was like a triathlon game or something, or an Olympics game, or I don't know.
Oh, is that the one you had to do the motions?
No, you couldn't do the motions. It wasn't even that new. You still had to do everything with the joystick. So there was, like, maybe it was called decathlon. So there was this long, like, running race, and the whole time you had to just do the joystick back and forth, and your hand would start to cramp and your arm would start to cramp. And there was none of this, like, running in place, and there were no buttons to make anything easier. Right. It was just brutal.
That's where carpal tunnel came from.
Probably.
Yeah. And it was also hard on the joysticks.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
That's fun. Like, doing a game like that for hours and hours is not that satisfying.
But then you had to throw the javelin too, and you had to.
That was one of them too. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to move the joystick and then push the button or something to let it.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually kind of fun. But I seem to remember one of those games.
The events that were just like straight up running were so boring, because all you did was
you just run
back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you're sore for weeks.
And what do you have to show for it?
Yeah.
You didn't like kill any monsters on the way, or
maybe a gold medal.
Maybe.
Did I see that you were in a movie with Shaft?
With Shaft?
Did you do something with Richard Roundtree?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did a movie. Well, I shot the movie 8 years ago, but they just released it last year.
Well, I thought it was curious, because I was like, where did this come from? I never.
Yeah. It was such a joy to work with him.
Yeah.
He is a wonderful actor and such a sweet man. And we had a great time. Listy. Sorry?
I think that's kind of bucket listy. I mean,
definitely.
It's kind of iconic.
And I have such an incredible story that goes with it too, that has nothing to do with the shoot. But I guess a few months after we finished working together, I got this email I got one of those emails that was like, "Hey, I'm traveling in Africa and I lost my wallet. Can you wire me some money?" And it was from Richard Roundtree. It was from his email account. He had been hacked. And I was like, how hilarious is this? Do you people have any idea that you're trying to convince me that Shaft
Need some
has
money.
like lost all of his money while he's traveling and he's emailing me to ask for help? And it was just like the best possible person out of my contacts
Yeah,
that
that's
like
awesome.
could have sent me an email like that.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, it was pretty satisfying.
Yeah, I need him on my background.
You should have him on your background.
I should. I need him because everybody, you know, see, they're all yelling con. That's the
okay.
the joke. See, they're all yelling con. So I need a picture of him. I'll just call him. I'll say, I just need you to take a picture screaming.
Yeah.
And put it on the background. I'm sure he'd do it.
He was really good in that movie too. It was a very unshaft like character, and I thought he did.
He's a pretty talented actor.
He's very talented. He's very thoughtful, very intelligent.
Are you still doing the stage show? I know you had like a comedy show.
Oh, Jack and Swallow.
Yes.
No, we haven't done it in a number of years, mostly because Jack has 2 very young children.
Oh yeah,
and her hands are full. And we are usually not in the same city.
Yeah.
I would love to work with her again. It just has
we
not
could do
happened.
A Jack and Swallow reunion right here.
All right, I'll tell her.
Oh, yeah, you tell her. We'll bring you guys. That's what we do. We bring you together.
I'm gonna tell her.
Tell her. I sound like I'm joking, but I'm serious. We had a good friend of mine is John Lear, who was one of the Geico cavemen. But he had this show that was on Hulu called Quick Draw. And I'm watching it early on in the pandemic, thinking it was brand new. And I binged it. It was like 18 episodes. And it was over. So I was looking for the new season, figured out that it was out like 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It was this old show. So I sent him a note. I was like, I love the show. I'd really like to have you come on the podcast, talk about it. And he did. He was terrific. But then we got on there. I was like, what would be great? Let's get the whole cast. We'll do the whole cast. We'll do a little reunion. So we did. We had the whole cast. Quick draw.
That's awesome.
So there you go. So you won't be the first, but you'll be the second.
I'm going to send Jack a text right now.
Yeah. We need to have you guys on. So did you was it like what kind of show was it? Was it just comedy? Was it singing?
It was. So both of us are singers. And so it started because we were doing a workshop of a musical together. Director? What? We're doing a workshop of a musical together. And we spent more time making each other laugh than we did paying attention to what we were supposed to be singing. It was a musical about the Oneida Colony, which is the Oneida Colony is known for being one of the first free love colonies.
Oh. But
they also became known for making beautiful flatware. And a friend of ours who was also involved with it saw how we got along like gangbusters. And he was like, you guys need to do a show together. And he was like, you know what? You really should do a show together and I'll produce it. And, her name is Jacqueline. She goes by Jack. And you know what my name is. And I have taken a beating for my name my entire life. Every joke possible has been made about it. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to make the joke myself.
That's right.
And it was very satisfying. And, the title was very, very tawdry, but the show itself was not. And it was mostly about, we would sing and we sang like every style of music. We did some musical theater, we did some rock and roll, we did some jazz, we did some country. And then we would just sort of, we wrote some like monologues, we wrote some sketches. It was just sort of like a sketch show, I guess. Because we just play off each other really well. I'm very dry and sarcastic, and she is very bubbly and animated and tremendously hilarious.
We have to do this. You have to come back with her.
I'm gonna text her right now.
Text her right now.
Dear Jack.
You can pick your favorite skit to do.
Let's see. I'm gonna make her a video.
Oh, that's even better.
Hi, I'm doing. Look, I'm making a video. Wait, where do I?
Hi, Jax.
This is hard. Oh, there you are.
There. I see me.
I'm doing a podcast interview.
Yeah.
And he wants to have us on his show and have a Jack and Swallow reunion. So we have to make it happen. Okay, bye.
We must do it. Yeah. Yeah, you got to let me know. If she's willing, let's do it. That'll be great.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Yeah,
she's also a brilliant mother. You know, I guess it's good that she's giving time to her children and all that.
I guess. I suppose.
Whatever.
She can spare an hour though.
Yeah.
That's right. It's important work.
It is.
Yeah. So Emily, thank you for doing this. I could keep talking because I could run through your whole resume. Like, I'm pretty sure you were the FBI agent on The Mentalist.
I was.
All right. Yeah. And I loved your work on SEAL Team.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really good. I won't do it, but you've been in a lot of stuff. You pop up a lot.
I get around.
You do.
I get around and work with some really great people.
All the shows.
Very lucky.
Yeah. Well, you're really talented. I'm sure that's why everybody wants you on their show. That's my theory. I don't know. Because they normally work with people that aren't talented. Oh, I do got to bring up Detective Elizabeth on Ringer.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
What about her?
Well, I just wanted to bring her up because that show came out and Buffy fans were very excited.
Oh yeah.
Sarah was coming back.
Uh-huh.
And then it was because didn't she played like twins or something on the show,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Because it's been a while.
It was pretty brilliant. It was a brilliant premise.
It was
so fun. So
you were really good on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad I remembered that one because that was a big one. So that was after Flight of the Conchords. That was probably several years.
Yeah, that was after Flight of the Conchords for sure. Before the Mentalist, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because it was before. Because I remember working with. Oh shoot! What was his name? Lovely gentleman, Welsh. He was on Ringer, and then we also worked together again on Monday mornings.
Yeah, I'd have to look. The name's not popping up.
But it's fun when you get to cross paths with people again, with new characters and new storylines and stuff.
Pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Did you do now? This one I'm not 100% on because sometimes I see stuff, and then when I see somebody in something else, I'm like, I think in my head I can kind of see a picture. But
try me.
So I'm not even sure this was a show. Did they do a remake of Ironsides?
They did, and I did do an episode of that.
There you go.
Yeah, it was Blair Underwood.
Yes, Blair Underwood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who I'm a fan of, which is probably why I watched the show.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm not crazy.
Oh, I was a very sad lady on that. I was in an abusive relationship, and
that's no good.
No,
that's no good. I liked you on Man with a Plan too.
That was really fun. I don't get to do a whole lot of comedy, so that was fun. I was a proctologist on that one.
Yeah, you were funny. You got to work with Joey.
Oh, very funny.
Yeah, we need more of that. Is there a genre you haven't done that you'd like to do, or have you done all?
Well, I haven't done a whole lot of comedy. I'd like to do some more of that for sure.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna work on that.
All right, you got a long to-do list.
I got a long to-do list, but I'm going to work hard at it. I'm going to be.
I believe in you.
Yeah, I'm going to work really hard at it. So next time when you come on to sing the theme song or have
play my banjo and
play your banjo, I'll have something for you. I'll be like, I've got this show for you.
All
It's a
right.
comedy. There you go. There you go.
Bring it.
It's a give and take. Has to go both ways.
Great.
So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, it's been so much fun for me. Is there, before I let you go, is there anything that you have upcoming that we haven't touched on that we can keep an eye out for?
Nothing that I'm allowed to tell you about.
Yeah. Because it's going to be Star Wars. We know it is. We just don't know which one. We think Mandalorian 3.
I feel like everything that's on TV these days, they make
like
you sign
90%.
NDAs and
Yeah.
So I'm always
okay
just like, and I feel like my friends are always like, are you actually working or are you just pretending that you're working? So
Ooh, I should start doing that. I should start kind of dropping hints that I've got this big something. I can't talk about it though. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see.
You'll see. I could probably drag that out for a couple years.
You could. Especially with like how long it takes for things to, I mean, you know, I shot a movie that wasn't released for 8 years. So you can drag things out.
I'll start like name dropping just random people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then I'll just be like, what'd you bring them up for? Nothing. Never mind. Can't talk about it.
But people too, like with all of the, you know, people get written out and then they get like CGI'd over, and you could really make up anything, and who knows if it's true or not.
It's happening. So when you see some crazy story about some random project that I'm starring in, you'll know what's going on. Nothing.
I'll know that it's complete crap.
Complete BS.
Yep.
Not true. All right. Last thing before you go.
Okay.
Where can we find you on social media?
I technically am on Twitter, but I don't really pay much attention to it.
Nobody's paying it, although everybody was paying attention to Twitter when Facebook went out the other day.
You know, I totally missed that.
Yeah.
Which I felt kind of good about, that I genuinely was not trying to use it and didn't notice that it went out. But my Twitter handle and my Instagram handle are the same, and that is Biggie Swalls, BIGE.
I know, I like that.
SWALLZ. And I do have a fan page on Facebook, Emily Swallow Fan, so you can find me there as well. And I try to read messages and stuff and get back to people when I can. I'm not always great about it, but I make an attempt.
Yeah. Are you in any Mandalorian fan groups on Facebook?
I guess not.
There you go. You need to sneak in there.
I'm in an armor builders page, which is fun. It's all the people who are building the armorer costume.
Now that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Those people are talented. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm amazed at people who build their cosplay stuff.
Oh, it's amazing.
Incredible. And I mean, God bless them. They very often will like ask me questions about some of the materials. And I'm like,
no idea.
I know what it feels like. I don't know what it is.
I mean, were you, when you were little, were you still Halloweening with the, you know, like the little plastic costume with the plastic mask?
No, my mom
did she make your own
seamstress, and she would make all my costumes.
Good for her. My mother was the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I was a shark. I was a Henry VIII. I had the paper mache.
You were Henry VIII? That's a very grown-up costume for a little boy.
Yeah, she was very excited to make that one. I'm not sure where that came from. I was a Bumblebee. There was a few I wasn't happy that I was. He was very talented with her costumes. That's put a lot of effort into it. Yeah. So no, what I can't remember the name of the company that made those silly costumes. They cost like $6, and it was just
I have no recollection.
Yeah, terrible. Well, Emily, thank you so much. Please do come back. This was so much fun.
All right.
Okay.
We got a lot to catch up on. So yeah.
We got some work to do.
Yeah, we got a lot of work to do before I come back, but then we'll have a lot of things to show and tell.
Oh yeah. And you're gonna bring your buddy. It's gonna be awesome.
Jack, yeah.
She's been hiding out. You know,
she needs to shine her light.
Yeah, she's just, I don't know what she's doing.
I'm gonna send this podcast to her
taking
when
care of
it
people.
goes online.
Oh, you have to. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on one second. I will shut up and hit pause.
Recording in progress.
That was so much fun. So the terrific, the talented Emily Swallow. Look up her singing. It's amazing. She's got the most beautiful voice. I hope she does release some music at some point. It's just beautiful. So I did pretty good. I didn't just list off everything that she had been in, but I'm pretty sure I've seen most of it. I hadn't seen Guiding Light, but I'm pretty sure I've seen most of what she's done. And she's been a guest star on everything, and she's been one of the stars in several things, a lot of geeky stuff. So excited to do that interview, and she was just terrific. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. You keep coming back. I appreciate that so much. There's so many things out there you could be spending your time on. Don't take you for granted. Thank you so much. If you haven't done so yet, if you could go to YouTube under MeisterCon Pod and subscribe, we would really appreciate the help. You can also find all 300 or so episodes, audio and video, on our website, meistercon.com. There's a terrific blog from Brett. It'll let you know any conventions, whatever we have going on. It'll let you know you've got, if we're doing events here at the studio, it'll all be on the website, meistercon.com. So check that out. So thanks to Emily. Thank you guys. Until next time. Bye, everybody.